I'm Victoria Chick, and you're welcome to my kitchen. I'm going to make a dish tonight that's a family dish called Moroccan chicken with olives, raisins, and lemon. And I almost always use preserved lemon. If you've never preserved the lemon, I'm going to first of all show you how to do that, because it's a step that you start a couple of weeks in advance. This is a great dish for families because you can adjust it according to the number of people very easily that you're going to be serving. It's also a great dish if you don't know, if you say your family's coming in from all over and you don't know exactly when they're going to be there. This dish is very forgiving. It waits beautifully. The unusual ingredient in this dish is the preserved lemon. And preserved lemons are very common in the Mediterranean cooking. They're not so common in American cooking. So I'm going to show you how to do this. It's really a very easy process. And I have a good fresh lemon. It's got some give to it. If you have your own lemons from your own backyard, or if you live in California or a state that produces lemons, you're in luck. If you're not, you have to kind of search for the lemon. But what I'm going to do is I'm cutting through the rind, not quite to the bottom. I start at this pointed end here. And I'm going to cut this in about 8 to 10 sections, all the way through the rind. What you hope when you buy a lemon, you hope you can find a juicy one. Sometimes in the store you have to search a little bit. Okay, now if you can see this, there's a number of sections. I think I got 8 sections there. And I haven't cut all the way through, so it kind of opens up a little bit, like a flower. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take kosher salt or sea salt. In this case, I've got sea salt. And I'm going to pour. Sometimes you can pour it in directly. Sometimes it's easier to take a spoon and put your salt in the spoon. And I'm probably going to put about a tablespoon, which seems like a lot of salt, to put in 1 pour lemon. And I'm going to put it in the center, like that. Kind of massage it in there a little bit. Maybe I'll add a little bit more. Okay, now I've got a jar here, a small jar with some lemon juice in it, and I'm going to put my lemon into this jar, put a lid on it, seal it up, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for about 2 weeks. The salt gives the lemon a more intense flavor. It doesn't, when you take it out, you actually rinse the excess salt off, so you're not consuming a lot of salt. But it does work with the lemon flavor in a really wonderful, wonderful way. Okay. This is a very spicy dish. Not hot, but a blending of spices that seems exotic. So what I start with, I use about half a tablespoon of ground ginger, some cloves, these are ground cloves, about a tablespoon of turmeric. I like curry, so I put more curry in than the recipe calls for usually. But I have 2 kinds of curry here. I have curry powder that is hot Madras curry powder, and I also have red curry powder. And another spice that goes in here that we're used to thinking of as a Mexican spice is cumin. So it's an unusual blend, and I use Hungarian paprika. So it's a melange of flavors here. Now what I do is I put all those spices into a large bowl. I take the pieces of chicken which I've washed. I'm using skinless chicken right now. You can use any kind of chicken that you want. You can use whole cut up fryer, for instance. You can use chicken with skin on it, or you can use boneless, skinless chicken, which I've got in this case. And I just cover each piece with this spice mixture, as you see here. I've got white meat and dark meat combination. I think the dark meat has more flavor with this dish, but I like to put some breast meat in there also because people seem to like it. The recipe calls for browning the chicken in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I'm using extra virgin olive oil here. I also like to just put 1 tablespoon in there. And as you notice, I tend not to measure. I've made it often enough that I'm comfortable putting in the amount that I think is right. I'm also using virgin coconut oil as half part of the fat, just because I like coconut oil. It doesn't really impart a coconut taste, but it is a very helpful oil to use. Okay, and I'm going to put this heat on not too high. I'm going to do it at number 4 temperature, which would be about low medium. Let the oil heat before you put the chicken in. While the oil is heating, I'm cutting up an onion. I'm leaving it in rings as I cut it, and then I'm going to cut it in half. And this onion will go in with the chicken after the chicken is browned. These are lemon peels that have already been preserved. I'm ready to put the chicken in here. I don't want my fire too hot. The main reason I don't want that is because I'm using skinless chicken. And skinless chicken, if you use it in a skillet, sticks more easily than chicken that has skin on it. Because chicken that has skin on it makes a little bit more fat. With skinless chicken, you need to move it around a little bit to prevent that sticking. Now, I've turned the chicken over. I'm going to put a piece of the preserved lemon across each piece of chicken. I'm going to put onion that I cut up, just to kind of spread it around. Okay, now I'm going to put some raisins in here, and I'm putting about a very generous handful of raisins in. That's probably about 1/4 cup. And you can adjust that to your taste. If you like things a little bit sweeter, put a few more raisins in. The next ingredient that you might not think would go with raisins is olives. Now I like to use the green pimento stuffed olives, but any kind of green olive, already pitted, is fine. If you have Greek olives, like those would probably be very tasty too, but I think the color contrast is very nice with this because the Greek olives are too close to the color to the raisins. I guess the color is important to me because as an artist, I think about these things, and I think one of the pleasures of eating is presentation. I want things to look really nice as well as taste well. I'm going to add 1/2 cup of water to this and put the cover on and let it simmer. If I simmered it for an hour, it would certainly be done, and you could serve it then. Tonight, I'm having company, so I want to spend my time with my company. If it's on the stove, especially with skinless meat, I have to be watching more than I want to with my guests present. So what I'm going to do is transfer this to a casserole and put it in the oven at a low temperature of 325 degrees. And it can stay in there for an hour, it can stay in there for 2 hours, and nothing will be the worse. In fact, it just sort of improves as it cooks. I serve this with rice and vegetables usually, and I start some carrots. I julienne the carrots first. I steam those for about 5 minutes, and then I add the green beans five more minutes passes, and then I add some zucchini in the last 5 minutes. So the carrots get a total of 15 minutes. I don't want them overdone. I like the vegetables to be fairly crisp, even though they're cooked. I'll also serve it with rice. You can put this dish over rice or serve the rice alongside. You can use any kind of rice. You have used white rice. You could also use Japanese black rice, which is delicious. And I'm using wild rice tonight. Okay, I'm going to take the cover off so you can see this kind of simmering here. One of the nice things about this dish at this point is that I could take it off the stove and let it cool, and then freeze it. And I could have a meal and fixed way in advance, even a meal that I'd be proud to serve to company. The casserole's been in there about an hour, so I'm sure it's done. I could leave it in longer if I wanted to let it sit for a while till late arriving guests get here. But it is done, and the lemon peel is all tenderized. Some sauce. We have the completed dish. I'm ready to put it on the table. I've got hungry guests waiting. I think they'll like this.